Good morning, my dear student. Obstetric nursing, normal labor. Already we have discussed so many facts, but now I am going to talk about normal labor. The phases of pregnancy, labor, and birth are normal physiologic process. Labor is a process with possible concerns of personal well-being, that of an unborn child, and fear of labor pain. Addressing these concerns, minimizing her discomfort, and optimizing patient safety should be of paramount importance to all participants involved in the care of the mother and the fetus during the intrapartum period. Definition of labor. Labor may be defined as rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the uterine muscles with progressive effacement, thinning of the muscle, and dilatation, opening of the cervix, leading to expulsation of the products of conception. You have learned by heart what is the definition of labor. Labor is described as the process by which the fetus, placenta, and membranes are expelled through the birth canal. Another definition. Labor can and does occur at any time during pregnancy but takes most frequently at term or about 40 weeks after the normal menstrual period. Factors affecting labor. Let us see what are the factors affecting for labor. Then, first of all, preparation of the mother for the labor is very important. When she is in labor, she may be restless and fear, loss control with more uh, control measures should be taken. Mother should be taught to do exercises that strengthen the abdominal muscle and relax the perineum. Those are very important in labor. What are the factors affecting labor? The success of labor and delivery depends on three concepts: passage, adequacy of maternal pelvic dimensions, passenger, fetal dimensions, and presentation and power, uterine contractions. Passage, pelvic dimension, pelvic inlet, intra, inter, antero-posterior diameter. We already we have discussed the diameters of the pelvis. You have to refer again. The obstetric conjugate anterior posterior measurement is typically more than 10 centimeter. Over 50% of women have a gynecoid shaped pelvis to accommodate proper descent. Mid pelvis, steel spines. Intraspinous diameter is typically more than 10 centimeter. Protrusion of the spines into the birth canal may complicate descent. Pelvic outlet. Tuberosities, lower anterior posterior diameter. Typically, the lower anterior posterior diameter measures 9.5 to 11 centimeter. The distance between the ischial tuberosities measures 11 centimeter. A prominent coccyx may impede descent. Those are the diameters. Biparietal 9.25 centimeter, suboccipito-brachmatic 9.5 centimeter, occipitofrontal 12 centimeter. This is the diameter, and then occipitomental uh, occipitomental diameter. This is the occipitomental diameter. Complete flexion allows the smallest diameter of head to enter pelvis. Moderate extension causes larger diameter to enter pelvis. Then C. Marked expulsion marked extension forces largest diameter against pelvic birth, but head is too large to enter pelvis. Passenger fetal dimensions size assessed via palpation using Leopold's maneuvers or via ultrasound. Excessive size may lead to inadequate or asynclitic descent, labor dystocia, shoulder dystocia at delivery, or postpartum hemorrhage. Posture. Typically, the fetal head is flexed, back is rounded, and extremities are flexed. Flexion of the head allows for the smallest diameter of the fetal head occiput to present and pass through the birth canal. Lie. Already we have discussed all these things, but again I am remembering. Constitutes the comparison of the fetal long axis to the long axis of the woman. Variances include transverse, longitudinal, or oblique. What are the lies? Transverse, longitudinal, or oblique. 99% of fetuses present as a longitudinal lie parallel to the mother's spine. So there is no problem with that lie presentation. Fetal body part that is deepest in birth canal and felt on vaginal examination. What are the presentations? Cephalic, breech, shoulder, compound. Cephalic head. Head is prominent. Occiput, sinciput, brow, face or chin. Mentum. Breech, feet. Frank, complete or footling, single or double. Sometimes single, sometimes double. Shoulder, transverse, compound, two or more parts presenting at same time. What are the presentations? Cephalic presentation, breech presentation, shoulder presentation and compound presentations. Shoulder transverse, compound two or more parts presenting at same time. Normally, most of the presentations are cephalic. Position. The specific landmark of fetal presenting part. Occiput, mentum, sacrum, scapula. In comparison to the anterior, posterior or transverse portion of the woman's pelvis and the maternal left or right side designated by a three-letter abbreviation. The first letter L or R represent the right side, right or left. In the maternal pelvis, the presenting part is facing. The second letter represents the landmark that is presenting. O for occiput, M for mentum, chin, S for sacrum, SC for scapula or shoulder. Likewise, we can use those abbreviations. The third letter represents the direction, anterior, posterior or transverse. The presenting part is facing in the pelvis. For example, the fetus with the head presenting and facing toward the maternal right anterior pelvis is LOA, left occipital anterior. Likewise, we can mention. Those are the presentations. Cephalic A shows the cephalic presentation, B shows the breech presentation, C shows the face presentation, D shows the transverse presentation. Likewise, those are the presentations. Passenger, fetal head, vertex. In approximately 95% of all births, the fetal head vertex presents first. Sutures and fontanelles provide important landmarks for determining fetal position during a vaginal examination. Bones of the fetal skull. You know what are the bones of the fetal skull. one occipital bone posteriorly, two parietal bones bilaterally, two temporal bones bilaterally, two frontal bones anteriorly. Sutures of the fetal skull. Membranous spaces between the bones of the fetal skull. Frontal bone between the two frontal bones. Sagittal frontal suture between the two frontal bones, sagittal suture between the two parietal bones, coronal suture between the frontal and parietal bones, lambdoidal between the back of the parietal bones and the margin of the occipital bone. In this picture, you can see what are the bones and the sutures. This is the frontal bone. This is the frontal bone. Between that frontal suture. This is the frontal suture. Anterior fontanelle. This is the anterior fontanelle. This is the coronal suture between the frontal bone and the parietal bone. This is the coronal suture. Those are the parietal bones, two parietal bones. Between that sagittal suture. Between parietal bones, sagittal suture. This is the occipital bone. This is the occipital bone. This is the lambdoidal suture among the parietal bones and the occipital bone. This is the lambdoidal suture. Posterior. This is the posterior fontanelle. Fetal head. Fontanelles of the fetal skull. Irregular spaces formed where two or more sutures meet. Sutures and fontanelles allow fetal skull bones to overlap in order to pass through the maternal pelvis. When in labor, those skull bones overlap to easy to pass through the vaginal birth canal. Anterior. Largest fontanelles, junction of the sagittal, frontal and coronal sutures closes by 18 to 24 months, diamond shaped. And in coronal sutures, when it closed 18 to 24 months. Posterior, located where the sagittal suture meets the lambdoidal, closes by 1 year, triangle shape. Okay, hereafter we will talk about uterine contractions.